I've got an interesting story for you today, and I'd love to hear your response to it afterwards. Instagram, Facebook, Youth Jam Online. Joining us on the line is Shane Cuthbert. He's a former prisoner, and he's now a councillor candidate in Cairns, trying to vie a spot to be on the Cairns local council. The Queensland elections are, of course, this year. He spent a part of his life in and out of jail between 2009 and 2012. The wannabe councillor was convicted for an affray that occurred between him and his brother, malicious damage, failing to appear, breach of bail, behaving in an offensive manner in public, and was even caught, and you might not believe this, but he was charged trying to board a flight under the name of Kermit Frog. Now Shane has allegedly turned his life around with the hope of being one of Cairns' next councillors. A fair bit to go through today, though. Shane joins us. Shane, good afternoon, mate.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, mate. It's good to have you on the program today. Your past, it's a pretty big one. There's a lot to get through. In your own words, can you take us back to 2009? From what I'm reading, that was your first prison stint. What was that for, and what got you there in the first place?
Look, I wasn't in prison yet in 2009, but it was my first time being sentenced as an adult. I was actually sentenced by Pat O'Shane, a magistrate I now work with. Funnily enough, an incredible story in itself. But look, I was a young person being sentenced at the time for an affray with my brother. And not the only time I had a fight with my brother and police were called. I had a bit of a tough upbringing as a child, and my brother did too. And unfortunately, I'm very ashamed of it now because, I love my brother dearly, but, we took it out on each other, when there was nothing to eat in the house or, no parents around and things like that. So, it was a sad time for us, and unfortunately we fought a lot, and we fought probably a lot more. I think every sibling fights, but I think we took it to the next level, certainly having police involved.
And tell me, because you did spend time in jail and you admit to that and you've been forthright with that, what was that time like? Did you learn anything whilst behind those bars?
Look, I learnt that prisons are not the place for anyone. I'm an advocate now against prisons for children. We've got a huge youth crime issue here in Cairns. One of the reasons why I am running for council is for that reason. It's a big issue and something that I've lived. I know that inside and out. I was one of those kids. I actually, when I was 9 years old, spent time instead of going to a juvenile detention, I went to a mental health hospital for children. When I was 9 years old, I was dealing with a lot of issues. Someone made the decision at that time to place me there. I think what actually happened was I was getting bullied at school, went through quite some trauma, ended up in hospital, addicted to morphine, and a lot of other issues happening for me at the time. But I ended up taking a knife to school, a small pocket knife, to confront my bully. Now, that didn't go so well. I didn't hurt anybody, but I think what happened there was I wasn't expelled. The police were called, but no charges were brought against me because I hadn't done anything with it. But obviously the police, my parents, and others thought, well, we'll put him in a mental health facility instead. Right.
And there's been a fair bit last year of press coverage around you, and it's not been very positive. ABC in November did a story on you and a few videos that were on social media with Nazi flags in the background. Have you denounced any kind of relationship to any organisation that practices Nazism? Because that's a pretty rough thing to be in a video.
Look, of course, and and it was an oversight for me, and I guess really at the end of the day, the joke's on me really, because it was brought to my attention by media a couple of years ago. Ran a story, and I thought I'd deleted the videos, and they came back out again. So quite embarrassing, really, especially as I'm trying to run for council, and someone's gone back through my channel and thought, well, hang on a second, he hasn't really cleaned his act up that much. So, yeah, the media's been interesting. I've had some media, positive national media, and I've also had some negative media. You know, there's people that will always see me as a criminal, unfortunately, but then there's also others that have really got behind me and accept that change and support it.
So you have changed since filming those videos?
Mate, I have. It wasn't my flag. It wasn't my premises, anything like that. Honestly, I really thought it was a cool place to catch a video. You know, there was some other artworks and things in the background that I thought was, I just thought it was a really interesting place to actually sit down and do self-help videos. At the time, I was helping other people change their lives and putting together a video series that was obviously posted online. And instead of focusing on the content, the self-help content, people focused in on the flag pretty quickly.